What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Fans FC. It's just the two of us today, me and Adam. Tyler, schedule just couldn't work out. We had to delay it, so sorry for the delay of the podcast, but we are back ready for the next week of MLS and all things across the pond. Adam, how you feeling today?
Feeling good. There's a lot of games going on, a lot of stuff to talk about, some positive, some negative, but we'll get into that.
I will say there's one thing. So, like, from doing both podcasts, a soccer podcast and then just a general sports podcast, American sports podcast, I never feel that we have as many topics and things to talk about in that show versus this one. Like, like sometimes you just have dry weeks, especially in that summer months.
Yes,
It's just nothing
definitely.
but
I was gonna
baseball.
say, yeah, with the MLS being in such a different period and with all the messed up tournaments with the World Cup in November and all that and the schedule being different, there's year-round soccer to talk about. Whereas with
Yeah.
American sports, there is a lull in the cycle. I mean,
Yeah, because you have football, then you go to like kind of have basketball to hold us off until like June and hockey as well. But then after that, like, baseball is not what it used to be. So it's just really just that. So it's like during those summer months, a lot of the stuff we're just talking about is like off-season rumors type of shit and like predictions for like NFL coming up. So it it's kind of nice on this show that now it's like, man, there's just always shit. You have the rumors, the games, like I said, all the other leagues, international win. This is always some shit going on because being the world sport. But anyways, let's talk about our hometown team, Inter Miami. So Inter Miami gets their second loss in a row. They have now lost 2 on the road, but have won 2 at home. It looks like the road losing streak is continuing into this season. Last season, we were atrocious on the road, but we made up for it for having one of the best home records in the MLS. Coming into this season, I thought maybe we can change that with this new roster. But Adam, do you think this is kind of this? Do you think we're going to suffer from the same road struggles that we did last year, or do you think this is just a hiccup? It's just still just game 4, and we're like thinking too quickly into it.
that's a good question. I was definitely worried with the way we played last game. Um, I thought, after losing Grigori to perform like that, it's almost like we were scared. We're playing like tactically, like, oh no, what are we gonna do here? What do we do? So it's not good, and I think there's gonna be some of the similar struggles of last season away, but I don't think it's time to panic just yet. Um, I would say that time will come if we lose to Chicago tomorrow.
Yeah, with Chicago being arguably one of the worst teams in the league right now, fighting for the wooden spoon this year. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think with the MLS deciding to play through the international window has really kind of hurt. I guess not just us; it's hurt a lot of teams. Which I was just thinking about it today. I'm like, the only reason why they're playing through this international window, right? You got an idea why?
Uh, is it? I mean, it's got to do with scheduling, right?
Yeah, I think it's Leagues Cup. Leagues Cup is
I was
fucking it
gonna
all
think
up.
the Leagues Cup, yeah,
Had taking a
because they
whole
gotta,
month
yeah,
off,
they're
that would
stopping
have
a
been.
month.
Yeah, so now you got to squeeze in these games before it gets too cold again and into like December. So I never really thought about that. So just like the other day, I'm like, oh, that's why we're playing through it. That's 100% more of the Leagues Cup is going to like kind of fuck shit up. But anyways, yeah, like you briefly mentioned, Gregor being out for the season has really affected the midfield tremendously in Miami. And I'm really like it's to the point where it's like no matter you hear in the Inter Miami scene, like people predicting stuff, we really don't know what to do regards of formation. There's just not a natural fit for Gregory, and we don't know where Phil's going to go. Phil's really quick to change things up and do things you don't expect, and he's going to play Neville ball, which is pretty much play people out of position. So Inter Miami, we're having Joseph Martinez out representing Venezuela in the international break. He got called up, as well as Robert Taylor, which is really going to affect us. So right
Yes.
now,
definitely.
we currently have no natural number one striker on the roster that's healthy at the moment. Campana is still a iffy. I don't think he's going to be on it. Borgelin is hurt. He's out. LaCava was on the bench last week against Toronto, so that's interesting. But he didn't get any play time, which I thought was kind of. I don't know if that's telling something. Like maybe he still needs to get back up to speed. Um, I don't know. Like we'll see. I think he's probably going to get some playing time this week, but I don't think he's going to start. So right now, I mean, our only two natural, not even natural, but the only two people who, I say three people who can play it at the moment is Ari Lassiter, um, Stefanelli, or Coco.
Yeah, and if it
My
was
guess
me, I'd
is
play Coco. The way he's
I
been
would play
playing
him
this season
too.
so far.
I'd play him too, but I think they're going to want to shore up that right side of the wing. And I just feel like Phil would rather have him on the right side because he was actually been playing really solid on the right side, the right wing, and then have Lassiter in the middle. Versus, I don't know if Phil's going to want Lassiter on that right side. I don't know, like what I think I know it's going to be like pretty much impossible to predict because we never know what's going to happen. But like, what do you think formation wise it's going to look like?
It's hard to say because I wanted him to keep that
All right, let's
diamond
do
and
this.
not
So
abandon
instead of
that.
trying to predict him, what do you want to do? Instead of trying, so
I
we're not
wanted to
predicting.
just keep our just because Grigore is out doesn't mean we need to redo all these tactics. And yes, I understand that international break we're gonna have players missing, but I think we need to keep consistency in these tactics. If these players are out here and there, it's gonna happen. It's a fact of life. You can't be changing the whole system for a game and expecting it to go well just because a couple players aren't here or available that I wanted.
Yeah, I think the thing with just like we've said with the Leagues Cup and everything, MLS needs to increase the roster size from 20. What is it, 22 or 23? Is it 20? I think it's 23. I think
Sounds
they should
about
at
right.
least. They need
Somewhere
to
around
put it up
there.
to 26. It has to be to 26. I think. With all these tournaments, U.S. Open Cup, the season, Leagues Cup, international windows, like we need to add more roster spots to the team because the fact that we don't have an actual, I mean, we have Victor Uroa, but let's be real, the guy's there for more so as like last he's older, he's not who he used
Yeah.
to be. He used to be an MLS like a consistent player. Now he's just kind of like a locker room guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't expect 90 out of him. And I just think it's a little ridiculous that this wasn't really like anticipated or planned for to have like because one thing that we know about Gregory, yeah, maybe not injuries, but the man was known for getting suspended. Over the course of the 2 years he's been here, he's
Yeah.
gotten so many yellow cards. He's slowed down on them a little bit, but he's known for getting suspended. So why don't we have a natural fit to play back there? G
Completely
Moto's
agree.
probably
Yeah.
your best guy. But even then, when you put G Moto back there, you take away the passing ability and the progressive passing that he offers in that right side, that 8 position. I agree with you that I think we should have never. I don't think we should have ever abandoned the diamond because let's be real, we have yet to even see the diamond outside of preseason. I mean, since Campana got announced as injured, we've been pretty much running a 4-2-3-1 with Pizarro on the wing, um, Coco on the right wing, and then Joseph up top by himself. I always said, like, why not put two put two up top still? Like, I don't understand why put Stefanelli up there, put Duke at the 10, and then you can have Robert Taylor or whoever, Kramashi, one of the new kids, like in that 8 spot. I think now with this game, it's definitely out of the question because there's just not enough people. But I mean, I would like to see. The thing is, it's Toronto. This is Chicago, which if there's any team to face right now, Chicago's probably the team to go against because they're going to be missing some players, international G, I believe, and they also are suffering from injuries with Shaqiri. Um, I I wouldn't mind seeing like a four like a 4-1-4-1, or which I feel like this is what I feel like Neville's going to do, a 5-3-2,
Hmm.
or like a 3-5 a 3-5-2. You know, you have the wing
I
backs.
mean, I'd
You can,
prefer I'd prefer that honestly than what we had last game.
the only problem is, who do you take out? I
Yeah,
did the good thing with having the
it's
three
just a
defensive
tough one.
linemen. It unlocks Gene Mota, because we saw. I don't know if you got it from like the first game, but like Duke was not comfortable in that 8 position. He wasn't. He's not. It's a position he doesn't really play, and Duke is more of a 10-8 hybrid than a 6-8 hybrid, because he gets back, but he's not like as far back as a
Yeah.
6, but he gets back enough to be considered an 8, but then he'll get up as high as like a 10. And I just think Stefanelli, he's just not a 10. I mean, we brought into it. I don't think the guy, he just doesn't have the creative aspect. And to no fault of his own, like it's it's he's a second striker. It's just what he is. And maybe we could see him up top, but a part of me feels like he's gonna go Lassiter up top. Lassiter seems like to have been the guy to really come in when Joseph is tired, for Lassiter to come in, and that's what it seems like they're gonna do. But I I wouldn't mind like a 3-5-2 or like a 5-3-2, even though I hate that you have to take somebody out, and that might mean you take out a Stefanelli,
Mm.
because you're gonna have to take out an attacking player, and it's either gonna be Stefanelli or you take out Coco, one of the two, because I think Lasser's coming in for sure.
Yeah, I would want Coco to play if it was me, but it's
I
gonna
think
be
he's been
interesting.
solid.
He's been
I
solid.
think
Uh, but with the players, with the international break coming back home, it'll be interesting. Obviously, with the home game, we will be there tomorrow. So,
I will
any Inter
say
Miami
I
fans
think
out there, say
Coco.
hello.
I think Coco is a role player, like off the bench guy. If Campana's healthy and Joseph is here and he's on form, I, I like
Yeah. In
I
an
would like to see
ideal
Coco come
world,
off for
yeah.
one of them. Yeah,
In an
I don't
ideal
know if I
world,
necessarily want him starting week in and week out. I don't know. He's good and he's solid, but I don't think he's not a guy that's going to take you over the top. Which is the same way I feel about Robert Taylor. Both really good players,
yeah,
and really good players to come off the bench. Do I want them consistently starting? No, I think you can get better at that position. And I think a healthy Campana, which if he ever is, and then obviously we got to talk about like Pizarro. Like he's still not playing at a DP level. Arguably, probably have never played at a DP level. And honestly, this is his time to shine. Like, look, you're
yeah,
the only DP left. Campana's hurt. Gregory's out. This is like these next like stretch of games. Like, prove yourself. I don't think he has what it takes. I know we briefly talked about in the chat, like if you'd want to see him as like a 10. I personally don't. I just don't think he has what it. He's not a quick passer to be a 10 in my
yeah,
mind. I think he's really a good 8 role, and that's why I like him in that diamond formation in the 8. But I think if we can get Campana back and Joseph back, I would like to see him in the 8 role, and then Duke up top, and then like a Robert Taylor on the right of the diamond,
yeah,
and then both to the back. I just don't. I think Stefanelli is just not ready to be that creative player yet.
yeah. I definitely agree, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we go to our game predictions. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting. I think we'll be all right, but there's a lot of questions to be answered. Um,
It's still only 4 games,
and
so
it's still,
it's
yeah,
a,
exactly. And I was gonna say it's still only 4 games in, very early into the season, things can change. And
we
another
might
team,
need Busquets.
yeah, I don't know, man. But another team that is very, very glad that the season is young is Austin. I mean, wow, what a start they've had. I think it's safe to say that they're having a rough start after getting knocked out by a Haitian team in the CONCACAF Champions League, and now losing to what we thought was a pretty bad Houston. Eh, are they just having bad form, or is this not the same Austin team?
So Austin right now is 2 wins, 0 draws, 2 losses, with a -1 goal differential. So not the worst, but not what we expected from Austin. And I think that's what's throwing people off, too, and kind of threw me off to see they're in 6th place, honestly. But then you see the performances they had in Champions League, so those losses kind of add up there as well. And I don't I don't know really what's going on with Austin. I think I still believe that they're gonna bounce back. I think
Yeah,
that
me too.
this is a rough start. They're definitely a playoff team. It really sucks to see them get knocked out of Champions League so quickly. Because I really liked their path because they would have faced a Leon in that side of the bracket, and then you'd
Mhm.
probably go on to face either a Pachuca or a Tigres. I liked their side. Now that side has absolutely no MLS teams anymore on that side of the bracket. All the MLS teams are on the right side. Um, I think there's just too much talent on that team for them to be bad. And when they click, they click. The problem is they're allowing too many goals, and
Yes,
the defense
very
is
leaky.
yeah, they've been leaky. Their attack is I would say that they're a top 3 attack in the league. Definitely a top 5. I think they have the talent up top. They just I mean, it's a typical MLS built team. Like you allow goals in the back because there's just not enough money back there. But then you
Yeah.
score up top because all the money's up there up front. I like I said, I wouldn't worry about it. I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna come back. At the end of the day, they still did win 2 games. They're 2-2 with 0 draws.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, the 2 losses that they had, one against St. Louis and then against Houston. These are teams that you should beat.
And their 2 wins against a 1-0 win against Montreal and a 2-1 win at Salt Lake, 2 teams that are not good. I don't
Mm.
think we would consider them playoff teams on either side, right? I mean, definitely not
Yeah,
Montreal, but so
I
those are
mean
their 2 wins.
they
And
had an
that's why
easy
I thought it
schedule.
was yeah, I thought it was that's why I thought it was worth bringing up because yes, they're 2-2. Yes, they're a good team. Yes, they should make the playoffs and pick this up. But they had a very easy start to their season and they still couldn't make the most of it. So I think they'll be okay. I don't think they need to you know, bust out the blueprints uh and start redrawing yet. Just like we said
You
with
know what they
Miami,
could
it's still
be?
4 games in.
They could. I mean, obviously the Champions League is out of question, but they could still be right there. I mean, they're still a dangerous team coming into like Leagues Cup or Open Cup for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think they're going to want to get back into that Champions League bracket now that there's more slots available. And I think they will. But we'll see. And then, like, you know what I mean? Like, now with the 9 seats in the playoffs, like, it's very hard for a team like that to not make it. I mean, shit
Yeah,
would really
exactly.
have to hit the fan. But I think they're going to be a top team. I'm kind of on the fence if I even think they're going to be a home playoff team. Honestly, that can be pretty quick if they could be a top 4.
Yeah,
I don't know because you have
it's gonna be
Seattle.
interesting.
Seattle's back. LAFC is strong. Dallas is strong. The only 4th spot that I'm like, man, could they hold it is St. Louis. But every time we doubt St. Louis, they still continue to win. And honestly, they might win again because they're playing Real Salt Lake next. So that home playoff race is going to be tough. So they better start picking it up quick because every point matters honestly in this league because
Oh, absolutely.
home field advantage is so strong that like you want that home playoff. And now with the stupid ass uh 3-game series thing that they're doing, like you want that big time. But yeah.
Yeah.
Let's switch it over to the Eastern Conference. This guy has been lighting up the MLS and honestly this side of the globe for a year since the beginning of this year. The man has won World Cup. He is now coming into this season as an MVP favorite if he stays. He's already getting linked to teams across the pond. He was the highest incoming transfer ever for MLS, and now he's probably going to be the highest outgoing transfer for MLS, and that's Thiago Almada. The man has scored 4 goals and 4 assists in 4 games, and is now, as recording this on Friday, just got called up to back to Argentina to play for the Argentina national team, and then scores again off of a set piece from a Leo Messi um, off the post free kick. So this man is having one hell of a year. This is an amazing start to his this season, this like year of football, because now he's like really getting looked at seriously for his national team, which one is amazing for the MLS. Like I think that this is one of the biggest deals to ever like happen for like an MLS team, to have a World Cup contender, let alone a World Cup winner, to have active players that are in your league playing for like a World Cup team. Like that is crazy. Even though he didn't
And it
really
goes
get
to
that
show
many
you.
games, that many minutes in the World Cup, which I understand people are going to say that, but the idea to even get called up alone is a huge deal, and then continue to get called up. And now, obviously, it's Panama, not the strongest of teams, but to score, I mean, and be on the same field as the greatest player ever, I think, in Messi, like that's huge. And the dude has been lights out. His free kick ability is unreal. Like I think three of his goals are from free kicks, and they were nasty. All of them top bends, top 90.
You'd have to say if
Absolutely
he stays
disgusting.
with Atlanta this entire season, Atlanta are definitely one of the stronger teams or strongest teams in the East. I mean, they got an MVP on their team who, you know, at this point, I think it's safe to say if he stays the whole season, he would win it. Especially with
Yeah.
this Atlanta team is not bad at all,
And this man,
even
this
without him. It is everything's clicking right now for Atlanta. They're comfortably, well, comfortably. They feel comfortable at the top. Um, and yeah, with a player like Almada performing the way he is, I mean, they're either going to get a lot of money out of this or an MLS or some trophies. It's one or the other.
to me, to me, he has to be the greatest talent to play first team in an MLS. Like
Yeah,
talent
in
wise.
terms of
Like
talent ceiling, then yes, I would agree with you. Yeah,
young talent. Like
yeah.
I mean, I mean, it's even he has the stats to back, not the stats, but like the transfer market to back it up. Like the fact that he's going to break the record is just like obviously other people rate him, and I think he could be. And here's what MLS, I think, when it comes from their developmental aspect, they need to get over this hurdle is being able to be like a Dortmund in the sense of like when a big team or a top 5 league team who's pushing for Champions Leagues and Europa Leagues are able to pluck one of our players and put him into their starting lineup. As of right now, we haven't really had players do that. Outside of that guy at Newcastle, he played for, man, who did he play for? The Paraguayan guy. He's the right.
Oh shit, I'm drawing a blank.
He's the current record holder for the
Yeah,
highest outgoing transfer. I'm drawing a complete blank. It was like in 2019. He's
me
from
too.
Atlanta too. Like funny enough, he played at Atlanta. Atlanta sold him, but MLS needs to get to the point to where they're able to sell talent, just like from Brazil and Argentina, to where these guys come straight over and they're playing automatic starters in Portugal, automatic starters in the Dutch league, automatic starters for lower level Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga teams, like going in and starting right away. And that's like the hurdle I think MLS needs to get over, is having to like have these guys, and then when big team buys them, they're not just putting them out on loan and just having them under their thing. It's like no, they're here to like play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it could be that. I do want to ask you this question because I did see it floating around Twitter. Do you think he's a world class player, or do you think that he's just a solid player with a ton of potential, and that in MLS we're just deprived of seeing great talent. So when we see somebody of great talent, we think they're world class.
I think it's a little bit of both, actually. I think he's getting there. I don't think he's quite like, oh, he's world class, you know, but
Mhm.
he very much is going to be if he continues on this path.
Mhm.
So I think it's a little bit of both. Yes, we're definitely not accustomed as MLS fans of seeing this type of talent. So it definitely, your
It
first
feels
instinct,
world class.
yeah, it feels world class, definitely. So some of it is that, um, but some of it is the fact that he is actually a good player. I mean, he would
Yeah.
not be getting called up to Argentina. I mean, I'm sorry, he just wouldn't be
And
if he
that's the
wasn't
thing.
playing well and if he wasn't considered a good player that is rated by not just Argentine coaches and higher ups, but the players on that team. I'm sure Messi has a
Yeah,
say of who gets called up on that team, and he probably really thinks he's a great talent. I would not be
he does. I
surprised.
think Messi's even said himself that he's seen Almada's game and he
Oh,
likes him.
it's just, I mean, that alone, you'd have to say, like, yes, he's going to be world class. Is he without a doubt world class right now? Not quite. He's more of a wonder kid in transition right now, is how I would describe him. That's a safe way to describe him.
Now, would you say this? Because I think these are just MLS haters or just American soccer haters in general. But I saw people saying, "Oh, Brazil and Argentina pumps out 5 Almadas every single year." And I'm like, in my head, okay, yeah. Do I think he's world class? I agree with exactly the sentiment that you said. Yes. He's not there yet. He could be, but I think we're just not necessarily accustomed to seeing like really high talent players. But do I think 5 Almadas pop out every single year out of Brazil and Argentina? No, I don't think so. I don't think
That's
that's the case.
that's
I think
that's the
it's
kind of
common.
quote. I don't know. Whoever wrote that is the kind of person who only plays Football Manager. Serious,
Yeah.
because that's the kind of thing you'd get out of Brazil and Argentina when playing Football Manager. You get 5 Almadas a year probably if you know how to scout. But come on now, this isn't real life. I
You know
mean,
how many young talent would be on the Argentine squad, and like how many people like, and the Brazil squad, like
they'd never lose.
Brazil maybe,
Brazil
but I
produces a
think
lot
I
of
think
talent, but
I
I mean,
think
come on.
I think Brazil probably gets maybe 2 a year like him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I would think
definitely,
so, yeah.
but I don't think Argentina's making 5 Almadas. How many young Argentines has, like, big money that we've signed to MLS? Not really. Pellegrini, a Miami player, didn't really turn out. He was rated super high, coming in, didn't really perform. We do have some Carranza, which actually is turning out to be a really good player. Tati Cassiano, really good player. But I don't think out of Argentina there's 5 guys coming out as good as he is. Like,
Yeah, I
I
agree. I
just
think
I
that's a
don't,
bit much. I think people need to calm down a
at
little
least
bit.
not
I
like
mean,
what
he's
it
great,
used to
but
be.
yeah, yeah, like yeah. So I think people need to calm down. That's a bit much.
I
Um,
think, some people just like, I mean, like I like to say I'm fair about my takes that I give to the MLS. Like, but some people like they either go too hard about like think MLS can do no wrong, and then you got the opposite side where it's like some people think like everything they do is awful. So
yeah,
it's like
yeah. You
it,
should definitely find always find the happy medium. But 4 games in, uh, with the East and West Conference tables now starting to kind of form, do we have any early favorites for each conference to make it to the, far into the playoffs?
man. So
Now,
actually, right now, it's the Supporter Shield race is Atlanta's actually second in the Supporter Shield race,
yeah, with 10
which
points.
is actually interesting.
Yeah.
New England
So
is
I would say
third.
right now, off the bat, just before we get into it, I would say if Almada stays, Atlanta United are definitely one of those favorites. Um,
Yeah, because they still have their
segues
DP,
into
that
it
Greek
perfect.
that Greek guy that they signed as their DP striker. He has a very complicated name.
Mm.
It's something with G, like double G or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
He still hasn't really like found his rhythm yet. He's still trying to get accustomed. If that guy can get into a rhythm, and honestly, I really like Atlanta's scouting like they do really good scouting. Arujo over there, the right winger. He had a couple shaky games, but he's supposed to be he's going to be a really good talent out of Brazil. And then this Greek striker, like Atlanta could be like a sneaky good team that I didn't anticipate being as good as they are. Um,
Yeah.
but for sure, like you got to go with the reigning champs, LAFC. I think Seattle is back. Seattle
Yes.
is back big time.
They look very good.
Um, I think the East. I think the West. We have a good idea who's who out in like that top five. Like we know Dallas is gonna be good. We know Seattle's gonna be good. We know LA, Austin. Um, but then St. Louis might be good, honestly. But then like that six and down, like between Minnesota, Houston, Real Salt Lake, Portland, like Galaxy's having a terrible season. It's really bad. So like the top is really good, but then the bottom is just like really fell out. So I don't know. Like
Yeah,
I
I
think
would
we know
say
who's gonna go.
yeah. So for the East, right now, if I had to put my money on it, I would say Atlanta and Cincinnati. And then for the West, yeah, I would say LA and Seattle. I think Seattle, yeah, I think they're back. Seattle, I think the West is going to be I think for some reason I just feel early in the season, and I could be wrong about this. I just feel that the West has more strong teams than the
Yeah,
East.
and that's what I was getting at. Like I feel like with the West, we know the top five.
There's
Like
still
we
good
know
teams in the East that can compete definitely with the West, and arguably you could say Atlanta is the best team in the league.
but here's the
But
thing with the
there's
East
more
though.
teams in the West that seem to be, very good playoff contenders, whereas in the East, you seem to have a lot of teams that are just like, ugh, if they make the playoffs, there's a lot of bad teams. You got Montreal, Chicago, Charlotte, DC, Orlando struggling, Columbus are struggling. It's very interesting right now.
And that's the thing with the East. Like I said with the West, I know the top five. Like the East, I don't know who the top five is. I mean, we came into this season thinking like
Oh yeah, we
Philly's
thought,
got it.
yeah, yeah,
But Philly's got 2 losses on the road. Like Philly lost to Miami, and now they lost against this was a struggling Montreal team,
struggling Montreal team.
which
Yeah,
was actually a I don't know if you saw the highlights for that game. That shit was crazy how that game ended. So maybe you can't blame them too hard on that. Carranza got a red card, and that game was kind of wild.
yeah,
I
it
still
was.
think they're going to top. I still think Philly's going to top it because I don't think they're going to lose anybody in the summer, and they're just going to stay consistent. But like outside of Philly, I gotta say Cincy, but below Cincy, I still want to see if New England can stay consistent. I want to see how Atlanta's going to play along the stretch, especially if they end up losing their star player.
Yes, that's going to
Other
be the
than
key, really. And
other than
if
that, it's a race, man. Like,
mhm.
do I like you're gonna Nashville, New York City, Inter, Toronto, New York, Orlando? Like that shit's gonna be bouncing all around, just like it did last year. Versus the West was pretty stagnant, and the East is bouncing. I think it's gonna bounce around a lot. I think
Yes,
you're
I
gonna
think
have
so
two that
too.
rise to the top, just like last year, where you had Philly and Montreal. Those are the two stagnant, like top teams, and then everything from three down was just all over the place. And I think we're going to see that again in the East. I think you're probably going to have Philly that's going to be good in Cincinnati, but then everything else is probably going to bounce around a lot. Maybe you have New England and Atlanta stay at that top four, but we'll see how that rolls. This is why I love MLS. Honestly, it's just
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't know. Like it's just like it's not like you know who's going to win. Like I have no idea. So
Yeah, and we can already foresee so much more to talk about in the coming weeks. We could just tell. The it's going to be so many stories. With how crazy it's already. 4 games in, we already have a lot to talk about, and it's just going to get
yeah,
better and better. So, speaking of too early predictions in general, we are we had a rough week for our rapid
oof,
fire game predictions. Rough week. So
rough.
as Julian gets our next week to pull up and go through, I will run through our record first, our total after last episode. Julian in the lead is 22 correct picks, 19 incorrect picks. This past week he was 5-9. I am 19 correct picks, 22 incorrect picks. I was 6-8 last week. And Tyler, having missed episode 2, we do have his picks, so that is taken care of. He's not going to miss, even though he's missing this one. He's not missing it pick wise.
Yeah, Tyler does have his picks ready,
So
and
we
we're
will
going to
be going
name off
through
who
that.
he picks. Yeah.
So he is total, having missed episode 2, 9-18. He was really bad in last episode. He wanted to be a renegade, but it didn't turn out so well. He was 2-12.
Don't listen to Tyler.
So when Tyler says I'm trying to be different, then just don't pick that.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be fair, so we all had bad weeks, and that's just honestly the nature of MLS. This like we were saying, it's just so fucking wild.
And soccer
Like,
in general is hard to bet on, so MLS is even harder.
Really, I find EPL not that. I know people that make money off EPL like big time. I wouldn't bet on tournaments though.
It's harder than
Tournaments,
you think.
no.
It's harder than
I would
you
bet.
think.
I would only.
I mean, I guess in the grand scheme of things, most games for the EPL are easy to pick, but then you have like, City losing to United when you don't expect it, or Arsenal losing to Everton when they're top of the league. You have those games. It's tough. You're always going to have those games.
Okay, so we keep on saying we're going to not take so long on our picks, so we're going to go a little faster. I think we should always aim for like 12 to 15 minutes. Last week we did over 20 minutes to make these picks. I think
I agree.
Sweet spot, what we did the last episode, 2 episodes ago, that 12 to 15, kind of make our quick remark of why we think that person's going to win, and then we'll move on. Just a short, like, one sentence. I like them because of this. Boom, they're going to win. All right, so let's roll through this because we want to try to keep it down. So here we go.
Again,
first game.
Picking. All right.
Oh, yeah. Let me get that ready as well.
So the first game.
Yeah. Portland versus LA Galaxy. Portland at home plus 120. LA Galaxy plus 195 on the road, with the draw being a plus 230. I'm going to go. Man, Portland is a fortress. I'm going to go Portland. I think Portland's going to bounce back. LA has been looking not good. They're still out Chicharito. Ricky Puig has not been playing the best. And they're away at Portland, one of the most toughest places to play. Give me Portland.
I'm going to pick a draw. I think both teams haven't really clicked. It is a tough place to play, but I don't think Portland have looked super strong at home, even though it is tough place to play. So that's what I'm going to pick.
Okay.
And then Tyler has picked.
Who did Tyler get?
He picks Portland.
Okay, so me and Tyler got Portland. All right. Charlotte FC versus the New York Red Bulls. Charlotte home team plus 160. New York Red Bulls plus 160, with the draw being a plus 210. Charlotte is bad. I think. I don't know what's going on in Charlotte. I mean, they were a team that was pushing for playoffs last year. Now it seems like they're even worse than what they were last year.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on there. They kind of have a shit show rolling on. I think New York's going to bounce back. They're the more talented team, and I think they're going to win. And Charlotte allows away teams to win at their stadium.
I think New York's going to win as well. Last week we kind of all got the Columbus one wrong, and I even said it. I said, "Oh, I feel like we're gonna." We all picked Columbus. New York's going to end up winning, and they did. So New York maybe aren't as bad as we thought. I'm going to pick New York. And then tie is what Tyler says.
Tie.
So Tyler has a tie.
Draw. All right, I can see that. All right, Philly versus Orlando City. Philly minus 165, Orlando plus 400 with the plus 270 draw. I'm gonna go with Philly. Orlando. Orlando can't get their shit together.
Yeah, they cannot.
That
Philly
team
all the way.
And honestly, I love to see Orlando's demise. Everybody hyping them up just to see how disappointed that they are. That they are.
And no surprise here, Tyler also has Philly. So this is one we are all in agreement on.
All right. Columbus versus Atlanta. This is going to be a really good game, honestly. Columbus, plus
Mm.
150. Atlanta plus 155, with the draw being a plus 230. I believe Chucho is questionable. He's hit or miss if he's going to play today. This week, I think he's going to miss it. And without having Chucho, I feel like that would worry me if I'm a Columbus fan. So I'm going to go Atlanta. They're hot right now, and I'm going to go with hot Atlanta.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm gonna go with Atlanta. They're playing really well, and I think that for the reason you just mentioned, that's an important factor.
And
Um,
that's some good
Tyler
odds.
Tyler disagrees though. He has Columbus at home.
Ooh, I can see it though. See it.
Yeah, it can happen.
All
It can
right.
happen.
DC versus New England. A DC plus 115, New England plus 200, with the draw being a plus 230. Okay, so I haven't made a draw yet, and I think this is going to be one. I think New England's the better team, but I think DC DC can make games interesting, and I can see them tying this game.
Yeah, I could see that as well. DC, they've not been great, but they haven't, you know, points wise, but they haven't been awful. I mean, they're kind of in games. They're not really getting blown out, but I think New England are decent. So I'd have New England on this one just by like
Yeah,
a goal.
New England's got a
And I
lot of good
believe
talent. Actually, you
Tyler
know what?
has 230.
I just thought about it. New England's missing their young star Colombian Borrero in international duty. So that's another thing we have to take in consideration, these international duties.
Tyler has a draw.
I think if Borrero was playing, I would actually take New England to win, but that actually just hit me that he's going to be out um, due to playing for Colombia.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it'll
I
be
think it's
interesting.
definitely going to be a draw.
But yeah, Tyler has draw.
All right. Inter Miami versus Chicago Fire. Inter Miami plus 110, Chicago plus 260, with the draw being a plus 240. Inter Miami, obviously, like we mentioned, missing two players international duty. Chicago missing players due to injury and also international duty. Inter Miami is a stout team at home, and I think they're going to keep that going. The La Familia and the boys are going to win and get through.
I agree, and so does Tyler.
All right, we
Miami
all
for the
got
win.
IMCF. All right, Houston Dynamo versus New York City. Houston Dynamo plus 130 at home, plus 135 at home. New York City plus 175 away, with the draw being at plus 230. I'm actually going to go with the draw here. I think both these teams are kind of mediocre, and I think it's going to be a draw.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a draw as well. Um, for the exact same reason that you said. Tyler says NYC.
If I was going to pick a winner, I'd probably say NYC. But then again, Houston beat Austin. So, but who knows?
Who knows indeed?
Okay. Kansas City versus Seattle. Kansas City is plus 115 at home. Seattle plus 200 away, with the draw being a plus 230. Kansas City is like one of those teams, they just can't put it in the back of the net. They do everything else right from what I've seen. If you're a Kansas City
Yeah,
fan, let us
they
know.
only have
But
2
from what I've
points,
seen, they look
2
like
draws,
they got
2
everything
losses.
they got everything put together except putting it in the back of the net. They put so many shots on goal and so many shots, but they can't get it in.
Yeah,
And that worries me because you got
yeah.
to
For
score to
for
win
that
games.
reason, I say Seattle. Seattle have been, like we said, we think they're back, and Kansas City
Yeah,
they've been struggling.
yeah. I'm gonna go
Tyler
Seattle on
agrees.
this.
Tyler agrees
All
with
right,
Seattle.
so we're all going to Seattle. Yeah, the draw and picking Kansas City to win is actually like neck and neck in FAMA. Most people
Yeah,
are picking Seattle though.
yeah,
All right. Nashville versus FC Cincinnati. I think this is going to be a really good game. Nashville, very, very, very good at home. Cincinnati on the road, plus 270, with the draw being plus 230. Cincinnati is going to be without Brandon Vasquez doing U.S. national team duties, getting his first call up, I believe, too. So Cincinnati without their star striker, which I think they'll be fine nonetheless, because you still have Brenner and Acosta there, which are two really good attacking players and pieces. Nashville is really good at home and strong defensively. I think Nashville's going to pull out the win here. I
Yeah.
like them at
Wow.
home.
Bold. That's funny. I was actually going to pick the same thing. I like them at home. Even though Cincinnati's been good, I think Nashville have what it takes. Um, but Tyler thinks that it's going to be a tie.
I can see that. I can honestly see that.
I could see that.
Nashville's the king of ties.
Yeah.
I remember, what was it, 2021? They had like, oh man, I don't know, like almost 10 ties. They're a grinded out team. They will get no draws, 1-1 draws, win 1-0. Like they're just one of those teams. All right, Austin versus Colorado. Austin at home minus 175. Colorado plus 400 with the draw being plus 300. I'm gonna go with Austin at home. By far the better team
By far. I
and
think Colorado's
a
the
good
worst team
home
in the
team.
West.
Really good home team too.
Yeah. Tyler also picks Austin. Think that's
All
fair.
right.
We all hate Colorado.
But we don't hate Colorado. We
They're
hate
just
Colorado's
really bad.
owner.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I do. I feel bad,
Bitch.
honestly.
Yeah, it is kind of a shame. They're really bad.
All right, Minnesota United versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. I think this is a sneaky good game.
Yeah,
Minnesota
actually.
plus 110, Vancouver plus 210 with the draw being a plus 240. I'm actually
Minnesota,
going
one of the
to
teams that have not
go.
lost yet. They have
Yeah,
um yeah,
without Reynoso too, their star DP. Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm going to go Minnesota though. I think Minnesota wins at home.
Yeah, I agree. Minnesota at home. And let's see what Tyler
But I
says
could
for
see a
this
draw.
one. It's
I
Minnesota
could.
versus Vancouver. He has a tie.
Interesting.
That's not a
Oh,
terrible choice. The
I
way
could see
Minnesota's been
that.
playing.
But Minnesota, like you said, I mean, they haven't lost
Yeah.
yet. So,
Yeah, they have not
and
lost yet.
they're
They look
pretty.
good at home.
They're another solid home team. So,
Yes.
okay, Real Salt Lake versus St. Louis City. Real Salt Lake, the home team, minus 110. St. Louis plus 250 with the draw being plus 250.
I'm
I
not
don't
ready
think.
for the St. Louis bus to crash yet. I know it will, but I'm not ready. Not against Real Salt Lake. Even with these odds, I'm very surprised by it. So I say
I
St.
think
Louis City, and so does Tyler.
Real Salt Lake is better than what their record is. I think
I
they're,
could see that.
I saw something that they've made the playoffs like, I don't know, like 5 years in a row or some shit like that up until last year. They like, they're a team that always seems to sneak in. But like you said, you got to go with the hot hand. St. Louis City SC. I like
Yeah,
those odds for 250 too. It's
I do.
all,
Interesting,
all
but
right.
I'll take it.
All right, now we're getting to the 10:30 West Coast games. San Jose Earthquakes versus Toronto FC. San Jose is minus 125. Toronto plus 300 with the draw being a plus 260. I don't think Toronto's a good team yet. I still think they have problem with Michael Bradley and Insigne
I
being out.
yeah, I
Um,
agree, but I think San Jose are worse. And
I actually think
Toronto,
San
I
Jose
don't know.
hasn't
I think
played
Toronto have the star
terrible.
power. I think Toronto have the star power to eke out like a 1-0 win or a 2-1 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would pick
Toronto's
Toronto.
definitely the more talented team. Obviously, the highest salary team in the league. But I think San Jose is actually not played too bad. I'm actually going to go with draw.
Okay, it's
Due
fair.
to, I mean, Toronto, they outside of last week, I mean, and that was because of just a really shaky Miami offense. They've been allowing goals.
Yeah,
And I think San Jose has a more cohesive attack than Miami does at the moment. And I think Abobasi has been playing not too bad. So, yeah,
Tyler
new
picks
Toronto with the draw.
Toronto.
I mean, I'll pick the draw. All right, so you got San
Yeah,
Jose, he's got Toronto, I got the draw. Perfect. I
I
like
have
it when that
Toronto as
happens.
well. We both have
Oh,
Toronto.
you picked Toronto. Okay.
Yeah.
I got draw.
All right.
All right. This is a good game. Final game of the night. LAFC versus FC Dallas. LAFC at home, the minus 195. FC Dallas plus 440 with the draw being plus 310. I believe FC Dallas is going to have Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola. I don't believe those guys got called up. So they should be fully stacked with their team, but I don't care if they do or not. LAFC is just so good at home, and
Yeah, I agree.
Belonga has been a amazing DP signing for them
Amazing.
late
Yep.
last year. The Frenchman, man, I would have loved to see him with Chicho Arango. Oh man, with him, Chicho, and Vela. Oh my God, that top three would have been nasty. But he didn't get to really chance to play too much last year due to injury, and so he didn't really have too much playing time leading up to the MLS Cup, and he had Bale. But man, LAFC is very good, so I'm going
Yeah,
to take LAFC at home.
they're looking great. I would take them as well, and so does Tyler.
Okay. All right. I think we did a good job. I think we stayed within our time frame. So awesome.
Not
Let's
bad at all. So now that means it's time to move over to Europe.
to Europa.
So where are we starting off this time in Europe, Julian?
It looks like we have La Liga. So La Liga, we talked about the relegation battle going on in the Premier League. And I told Adam before the show, I'm like, well, it ain't just La Liga. I mean, not just like the Premier League. La Liga has a very, very tight, if probably even a tighter battle than what's happening in the Premier League right now, with some like historically great teams. I'll pull up the table right now so everybody can see if you're watching. But overall, do you want to kind of give your thoughts, Adam?
Yeah. Other than Elche, who
Yeah,
are
Elite, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I pronounce them
Elche.
wrong. I'm sorry. I'm not
I
too
don't know.
big on the lower league Spanish teams.
Spanish.
The lower table Spanish teams. But yeah. So they're pretty much guaranteed to go down, especially and they're also playing Barcelona next.
Yeah,
That's not
two,
good.
7, and 17.
Not good. Um, at all. But I mean, if you look at the rest of it, I'd say from I mean, how many games are left at this point? Around
So
10?
26 games, and how many games are in La Liga? I believe there's 36 games in La Liga.
So,
Let
I
me
mean,
double
it's
check.
still so it looks like it really is as close as
38 games, and
if not
everybody's pretty
maybe even
much
a
at
little
26. So
closer
12.
than the Premier League. I mean, it looks like uh,
I mean, you're talking about a 10-point
10 point
difference.
between
Athletic
18th or
Club,
19th and 7th. That is unreal. That's
that,
unreal.
yeah. And then a
That is
15,
unreal.
point difference from 6 to 19. But yeah, 10. And then we're looking at a from 12 to 19, a 5-point difference.
Yeah, so
From
it's going to
12
be
to
even
19.
tighter. You know, a lot of even more of if you look at the form, the reds and the grays and the greens, excuse me, are all very smattered, spattered around. So it's hard to say who would end up relegated at this point. You know, if you were going to place your bets aside from Elche, who would be the other two teams to go down?
Um, man, you know what? I don't know if you guys. I know Adam knows, but like the listeners know, Valencia has always been kind of my second team. Valencia and Sevilla are the two big surprises right now. These are teams that are never in relegation battles,
Yeah.
but and specifically in Valencia's case, the owner he's been a terrible owner. He's from Singapore. People don't like him. He's kind of managed his team to hell since he got into position. Since he became the owner, and Valencia's just not who they were. I think they're going to get out at the end of the day. I think they're the one of the best teams, if not the best team in this relegation battle. You only have a 3-point goal differential, -3 goal differential. Everybody else is 15, 10, 18, 17, 13. So you 7. So you have that advantage. The only other team that has less than you is Girona with a -1 goal differential. But even all the way up to Osasuna, they have a -5 goal differential. So goal differentials are so obviously we all know how important those can be and getting those tiebreakers. But leading, I mean, for the past like 6 weeks, even Valencia wins, but then they lose, and they win, then they lose, and they because they had such a hard start, such a bad start in the beginning, that it's really like have them even if they get a win, if they get that loss right back, it keeps them stuck in that 18 relegation spot. But I think eventually they're going to get out of it. Um, I think Almeria is going to stay there. Personally, I think they're going to end up getting relegated.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree.
and then I think Cadiz is probably the next team.
Yeah,
I think
Cadiz or
I
Real
think
Valladolid. I can't pronounce that. I'm sorry.
Valladolid,
Vi-
Valladolid.
Vi-
The double L's is a Y.
yeah.
Valladolid.
Valladolid. Yeah, whatever. Just that team. Six
Yeah,
teams.
it's a weird name.
Other Real.
Yeah, yeah, with a -18 goal differential. But I think their Real Valladolid is going to get out. Personally, I think if I'm going to trust the teams that have the experience in these battles and have the higher echelon of players. So I think Espanyol is going to get out. I think Valencia is going to get out. I think Sevilla is going to make it out. I think Girona is actually having a really solid year for a freshly new promoted team.
I agree.
They're gonna
They
get
look
out.
good.
But I think you're gonna get stuck with a Cadiz is probably gonna get which I believe they just got promoted this season. I think they're gonna go back down. And then yeah, Real Valladolid might be gone too. But I think for sure Almeria is probably gonna stay there. I think they're gonna get stuck there.
Yeah, I would bet Elche, Almeria, and probably Cadiz.
Yeah, but
Just looking at
you can't.
form,
I
but
am
I mean,
fucking
it could be
terrified
any.
for
Yeah,
Valencia.
yeah, that's going to be
As
very
somebody who
interesting.
likes Valencia, I am fucking
If
terrified.
that ends up ending up the way that it currently is, then we'll definitely talk about that because that'll be some earth-shattering news
Yeah,
for a
and
team like
even
them.
if we look at the top real quick, like Villarreal has been a team that's really came on in the last couple years. Obviously, Valencia rival.
Yeah,
Um, they made it to semifinals last year in the Champions League, which was an incredible run, and they also made it back into the Conference League this past year, which obviously isn't the Champions League, but I mean, for a team like Villarreal to make it to those extra tournaments and those extra cups are big for them.
yeah, they need
And then from the
any
continue to
money
do
counts.
it is really good. And Real Betis is having another like pretty solid season, honestly, and so is Real Sociedad.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you're starting to see a lot of the tides turn in La Liga outside of obviously the top three,
Yeah,
um,
but
which
we'll definitely see how it
Atletico
goes.
still
But
has some time to go. But
yeah,
Barca is probably going to win the season. They beat Madrid in the El Clasico, and now you have Copa del Rey coming up. So you get one more El Clasico game. So that's going to be kind of exciting. But I think Real Madrid is going to put all their eggs in the Champions League basket,
yeah, I think so
and
too at this
just
point. But
so
yeah, so
yeah.
speaking of competitions in Europe, Arsenal go out of the Europa League. So of course I have to give some of my thoughts. Out on penalties to Sporting. We never really looked um, we never really looked like the Arsenal that's top of the league in Europa League. I don't think there was a single game where you can say, "Wow, this Arsenal! Wow, they're really taking on the Europa League this year." Um, Based on their squad picks, and I'm not making excuses. They didn't play good at all. Um, but you'd have to say, just with the schedules and the cluster of fixtures and the way the injuries have been going for Arsenal, after being top of the league, they I don't think they had to play their top players. There was times where you'd see Odegaard not even in the squad. I think for the first leg of the Sporting, he wasn't even in the squad, couldn't even be subbed in. And when you have someone like Odegaard not even in the squad, team captain, how much are you really putting into that competition? When you're one of your best players, you're not even including him.
Yeah, I was going to
So
ask you about that. If you feel like Arsenal's putting all their eggs in the Premier League basket
I
and
think
kind
they
of,
I think they are. I don't think that they were completely giving up on Europa League. I think they wanted to stay in that tournament and they didn't expect to go out the way they went out. But they're definitely focusing, if they have to choose to play their best lineup either against Sporting or against the Premier League team, they're picking the Premier League team at this
yeah. I
point.
mean, at the end of the day, when was the last time Arsenal won the Prem? So,
Exactly. So
and I think
and
for
you
them
know
right
and
now,
and
it's
and
yeah, it's
the collective thought is, what, goodbye Europa League, because we're hopefully not going to be seeing it for a long time,
yeah, and you
at
should
least
be in
next year.
Champions League. Yeah,
So that's something to smile about.
I think
So who
I
do you
think it
think
was
are the
one of
favorites
those
now?
things. I was going to say, I think for Arsenal, on the one quick thing on the Arsenal things,
Yeah,
like I thought they were just if they made it deep, great. You know what I mean? And then we'll pull up a full lineup. Like we make it to the
I
semis and we're
agree. I
playing a
agree.
Juve. You're playing a
Or
Juve, or
Manchester
you're playing.
United. Yeah.
Then you're putting a full lineup out because you win that tournament. You also get into the Champions League. But I think it was one of those. Obviously, the teams and especially the fans are they want Arsenal to win the league like that to them is like the best thing that happened. Do you as an Arsenal fan, do you care as much about winning the Europa League versus winning the Prem? You're going to want to win
Oh,
the Prem,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
especially
Are you kidding
how
me? You
long it's
telling me
been.
tell me in the beginning of the season, hey, you can only pick one. You win the Europa League or you win the Premier League. I'd be like, shut the
Yeah,
fuck up. The hell what are
yeah,
you even asking? Like, what kind of question
and,
is that?
and especially like what you're saying with like now knowing that like they're pretty much going to make the Champions League.
Yeah.
Like
That's a guarantee at this point. I'm sorry.
even if
It
they
is.
don't win the league. So it's like, what do you get out of winning the Europa League? It's one thing if Arsenal is like where Liverpool is in like ninth, eighth place, then it's like, all right, let's try to win this Europa League. Let's
Which is
go
what it
all in on
was
the
in the
Europa
past few
League.
seasons, which is kind of how it was the past couple
So
seasons.
we can get into the Champions League next year because we don't know what next year's going to look like for the Prem. But now knowing that, like, all right, we're most likely going to win this thing. We're going to go to the Champions League anyways. There's no benefit to us winning this Europa League outside of just getting another trophy. But with the teams left, we
So
have
the draws,
Feyenoord
yeah. So
versus
Fane, yeah.
Roma, Man U versus Sevilla, Juventus versus Sporting, and then Leverkusen versus Union Saint Gilloise. I can't not pronounce that.
It
Probably
looks like
butchered that.
Gilois or Giloy.
Is that French?
Yeah, it's Union Saint Giloy. What the hell is that? Never heard of that in my
It
life.
has to be French. Yeah, I've never heard it. It's a miracle they
Hold
made
on a
it.
second. Royale Union. Let me copy their name. Oh, God, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm trying to click on it, but it just yeah, I've never heard of this team.
They are a Belgian football club.
Belgium. Okay. So because
Wow,
I was gonna
that
say
that explains
that's
it.
I was gonna say that's definitely French.
I
Like I
was
know
like,
it's
Jesus,
French, but
I've never even heard of that team, and
but
usually
I'm
I even
like,
know the other teams. But
yeah, I
yeah,
was gonna
so
say
that's
like I don't
interesting
think
that
that's
they're there.
a League Ooh team. Like I feel like I would have remembered like that. But anyways, I think I think I
I
mean
think
honestly
United. I would take
I haven't
United.
followed I haven't followed Feyenoord at all, so I don't know how good they are. Roma, from what I understand, is having like a all right season. I think Roma's going to advance.
Yeah, I think
Juve,
Roma, Juve. It's
Juve
tough to
Sporting
say.
is going to be that's
It's a
going to be a
good.
good
I think
game
that'd be a good matchup. Yeah,
because Juve
Sporting are
is not
better
as
than people
strong.
thought.
Juve is not as strong, and we said outside of the points they would have been second place, right? Outside of the point
Ye-
deduction.
Yeah, they still would have been second by like
Yeah, I think
a
this is going to
healthy
be a good
margin.
game. Wouldn't be surprised if Sporting wins, but I think Juve is going to advance. Leverkusen is going to win. Um, and then Sevilla, Man United. Sevilla is too worried about not getting relegated right now.
Yeah, I
So,
can agree with that one. Yeah, yeah.
so
I don't know. I don't know if a Europa League trophy is gonna mean too much when they're in
which
the
I do
Liga.
wonder. I
the
do
B League.
wonder if you like what Sevilla's going to do. Like, are you going to go all out on Europa League? But it's like, man, that relegation battle's super tight right now. Like, do
It's
you really
happened
want to like,
before when City lost to who'd they lose to in the FA Cup? It was like West, no, like fuck. But like it was a team that got relegated, so it was funny because they were doing Europa League while in the championship. Um, so
yeah, I
that
was gonna say
it's
that's
possible.
pretty. Like I was gonna say like if I don't think it's gonna happen, but
It was
like if Sevilla wins,
Wigan Athletic. That's who they lost to. So Wigan got relegated. They won the FA Cup, so they were in the championship, but also in the Europa League.
yeah, I was gonna say like I wonder how weird that would be to have a
It's very
relegated
weird.
team in the Champions League. Like, say Sevilla wins the
Oh, that would be even
Europa League,
crazier.
and then they get relegated in La Liga. Then it's like Sevilla's in the Champions League, and they're La Liga too. Like that's like the second division. Like that'd be crazy. But no, I think Man U's gonna win it. They're the better team. Um, and yeah, we'll see where it takes us there from the semifinal. So I pretty much have Roma, Juve, Lever, and Man U. And I would guess you probably have the same, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The only one I'm like kind of up on the fence about is the Sporting one because I think
Yeah, that
that's a
one
big
could
win
go
for
either way.
Arsenal. But I think Juve is just
Yeah.
gonna get it though. They're just more talented. But yeah, I think that does it for Europa League.
Now let's
So
talk about our predictions for the Champions League draw. So we have the quarter and the semifinal draws out. Even though the semifinals are always just winner of the fourth versus the second and the winner of the first versus the third. So I assume if Champions League website's putting them in order, then we'll know who can play who. So first, we have Real Madrid will be matching up against Chelsea. It's pretty good matchup. What do you think about that one?
Madrid takes it. I think, like
I
I said,
agree.
with
Chelsea,
Madrid kind of out of
Chelsea have been
reach.
good in the Champions League this year. They actually have been, but
Yeah. Well, I
Madrid,
mean,
they
they
are putting
squeaked
all
out
their
a
eggs
win
in the
against
basket.
Dortmund.
Yes, and Dortmund, yes, they did that. That's what I was gonna say. I think Chelsea probably, even though Dortmund are a good team, I think Chelsea. I mentioned this last week. I think the Premier League in general, it just shows you that even though these teams are struggling, the Premier League is still strong because Chelsea can still squeak out a win against Dortmund, not playing their best. Um, so yeah, I agree. I think Real Madrid's got that one. Still going to
This
be
is
a fun
Madrid's
matchup.
tournament, man.
Yeah.
Madrid owns this fucking tournament,
And
and
another interesting matchup.
With La Liga not having to worry about it, it's
Yeah,
Real Madrid. I think is
it's
gonna
gonna be scary. Definitely gonna be scary. But another interesting
Camavinga.
one, Benfica. There's a lot of interesting matchups. These are all interesting. Benfica versus Inter.
I think this is a good draw for Benfica. I think
I
this is
do
a good
too.
draw
I
for
think this is the
them.
best that they could have hoped for. I would
Yeah.
probably still pick Inter. I think Inter on paper
Yes.
are the more talented team, but I would not be surprised if Benfica can squeak out a win over the
Yeah.
two legs.
I think Inter's gonna win. But yeah, Benfica. I think this is the best draw they could have asked for. Wait, is Inter in front of AC on the table? Either way, I think it was still a good draw for Benfica. I like their odds on this one, but I still think Inter's going to advance. But yeah, let's do Man City versus Bayern. Now, this is
Spicy one. A
the probably the
marquee
best
matchup.
matchup,
Yeah,
the marquee matchup. I'm going Bayern. I think
I
Bayern
agree. City,
is
oof.
top to bottom. I think is better. I think
City
Bayern
are
top to
going
bottom.
all out for this tournament for sure. Even though they're still trying in the league, they want that Champions League title, and yet I still think that the curse lingers with them, and they will lose over the two legs to Bayern. It's
I
gonna be
think
fucking awesome to watch, though.
I think Bayern's winning it all. That's like my early prediction right now.
I agree.
I think Bayern's taking this is to me, Bayern is fucking hot. They
They're
haven't lost
great.
a
Yeah, they look
game.
really good.
They haven't lost a game, let
They have
alone on
not.
aggregate. Like that. They're
Like
hot.
I like Bayern. I mean,
Men's
against Man City. I
Holland's.
just feel he is, but I just feel they have a Holland, but Bayern against City is just. I feel like tactically that's just a good matchup,
Yeah, it is.
and I like
That's a
and I
very
like
good
their
matchup.
hire too.
What I will say though is I think Holland's kind of back right now.
Hmm.
Holland did take a little bit of a hiatus after coming back from World Cup, and he kind of got a little quiet. But now he's hot, and that's the one thing to worry about when it comes to Bayern is that it seems like Holland is like back and ready to go, and the attacking depth for City is really good because you have Julian Alvarez and right behind Holland, and but I think Bayern is just so deep right now with Musiala, Sane, Mane being back. You know, like Davies is incredible on the on the left. I like Bayern. I think Bayern's going to advance. I think they're just really good this year. I think they got all their pieces healthy again, and they're super deep and they're young and all fronts
Yeah,
outside of Muller.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, but Muller's still good. So now we have a interesting one for it's an Italian
Serie
matchup, an
A.
all Italian matchup, the Serie A battle.
Kind of wild, right? That Serie A actually has the most teams in Champions League right now coming in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, it is
They have three
actually.
teams. Three
So
teams.
Napoli are the class of the Serie A this year. They've been really good. Milan are in
You know,
fourth place.
shout out to
Um,
that fan base. Napoli, you guys should be proud. You guys are finally back on top to where you guys were from all those years ago. They had a really tough drought, but Napoli is
yeah,
like they're top of the league and they have a huge
and I
gap
like them, and I like them to win this
and
draw
they're
as well.
strong.
I would pick Napoli.
Yeah, I like Napoli. Napoli could be a dark horse in my opinion to win it all. I don't remember the last time a Serie A team won the Champions League. It's been a while, but I would say they're a dark horse. I think they've been like sneaky good. Obviously, everybody's going to want to look at the Prem and the La Liga team and Bayern, but Napoli, they've had a very good season. This is the best season
Very
they've
good.
had in
Yep.
a very long time, and they could be a team that
They
people
should
kind of
win the league.
overlook.
They're running away with it. So
I think they could be a dark horse that the team nobody's really thinking, but like could they have the ability to? I'll say that much. So,
yeah. All right. So
all right.
that's it for Champions League. We just have a couple more things to talk about. This is, as we mentioned earlier, international break. So we have Euro qualifying going on, some friendlies, and some CONCACAF Nations League. So first, you guys don't know this, but I do want to mention briefly before we talk about international teams that I am Polish,
You
and
got the
Julian
Costa
is
Rica jersey on.
Costa Rican. So I always have a lot to say about Poland as a national team setup. It's a lot of pain and a lot of hope. Um, but that's just how it is. They have a pretty, even though they have a new coach, and I think it's going to take them time to set up. They hired the former Portuguese coach Santos, their guy now,
Mm.
and it's like okay, I guess it makes sense with that. Um,
Is
this
that
is
the
his
guy who
first
won the
game.
Euros in
Yeah,
2016? Yeah. Hey, I mean, you got a Euro champion. Like,
yeah, and he did good things with Greece as well, and when they were even arguably a worse team than Poland. So I think it's going to take time for that system to get developed. Um, but they should qualify out of that group. Them and Czech Republic are by far the best. You what else do you have in that group? Albania and shit like that. It's not really
yeah.
a
I was
competition.
going to say, and I don't know if you know better than I, but I've been noticing. It seems to is Poland kind of going through like a generational change right now, like a new like era of young players because I've been seeing a lot of like young Polish internationals on the transfer market moving and going to like
Yeah,
things.
yeah, I would say so. It's hard to say if they're like a good, how good the generation is, but yes, because a lot of these, you think about, I mean, yeah, obviously Lewandowski's still there, but you think about
Yeah, outside of him, yeah.
a few tournaments ago, you've had players like Błaszczykowski and Piszczek, who used to be like these Dortmund mainstays, and they got old. And then you have Gleek, who's ancient in the back line. So yes, we have. So now I feel like the team, it has like Lewandowski, Zielinski, and then a bunch of inexperience, and that's definitely going to hurt them. But they have talent, so they're just going to need to play. If the coach, hopefully the coach, what I've seen so far, he does want to give them the chances, um, give the young
This is
players a
kind of
chance to
like
play.
that,
So that's a good thing. I think this is good.
is it
But
kind of like you're gonna kind of eat shit for like the next like year or two while these like young kids get experience in the international
it's
level?
hard to say. It's hard to say. I mean, we should be good enough to not eat shit, like especially in this group.
You should qualify, yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean to
yeah.
like make like a run is what I'm
I don't
saying.
think.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know if we're. Yeah, I don't. If the tournament started this summer, we would not be ready. Not
yeah,
at
I think
all.
you guys will qualify. At the end of the day, you guys have too much talent in the
Yeah,
population. Like you're going to qualify probably every Euro and almost every World Cup.
yeah,
But I mean, like when it comes to like making runs in these tournaments, like
yeah.
it might
It's very dependent on
you
on
guys
the
aren't ready
team.
for
Yeah,
that jump yet.
yeah.
Yeah, because
So
I've
another.
been seeing a lot. I mean, there's
Yeah,
a couple guys coming to MLS, a couple guys leaving MLS. I've
yeah.
been seeing a lot
Even
of guys from
Arsenal signed
England.
the
Yeah.
young center back.
Hmm.
Yeah, in and out of MLS. Yeah, they got plenty of talent. Um, so we'll see what happens throughout this qualifying. But
And La Liga, there's a couple.
yeah, but another interesting matchup that occurred was England versus Italy. England beat Italy in their first qualifying match. They're definitely the top in the group, but um, is it Italy? They didn't qualify for the World Cup. So, do you think that they'll bounce back, or do you think this is going to be another one of
Italy
those years?
won the Euros, but couldn't win the World Cup. Like
Couldn't
was
qualify.
I quoted qualify, my bad. You like it's just in World Cup has like plagued them since they won it. They I don't think they've made it out of the group stage since they won. I don't know
Yeah,
about 2010,
they've
but I
had
know
cursed.
2014 that was the Costa Rica magical run where they won the group of death, England, Italy,
Remember that? Yeah.
Uruguay. Then 18 they didn't qualify, and now in 2022 they didn't qualify. So since winning it all, they've done nothing in the World Cup stage. But they then again they won the Euros. So Italy, I think they're good. They're going to be a top
They
team
should
going into the
qualify.
Euros.
Yeah,
They're
they
going
really should
to. I
qualify.
mean, they're the defending champs. Like they're going to qualify, and they're going to be a top team in that tournament. I wouldn't really think too much about the World Cup stuff because that seems to be like its own like weird own thing that they're losing to these random little countries like North Macedonia or whatever. Um, but when it comes to the Euros, I think they're going to be fine. England is a team where it's like they show so much like leading into these tournaments and
Yeah,
qualifying, but
they
then
have
when
a
it
deep
comes to the
talent
tournaments,
pool, and then yeah,
then they don't. They're literally. I always tell people who all my friends who don't watch soccer. I was like leading into this World Cup. The England is the Dallas Cowboys of world international soccer.
yeah, that's not a terrible way to put it,
Like they
especially
always
lately.
think they're going to win. They always think they're so good, but they never do anything. And they're considered, the founders. They have the best team and the best league in the world and all this stuff. Just like how the Cowboys is the America's team. You always think they're going to win. They're literally one for one the same exact fucking like type of fan base and team. But look, England's got to prove to me that they can put it together in these tournaments. They made it to the finals
Yeah,
last year, and then they lost. Not last year, last Euros. It feels so quickly
it
close together
feels.
because of
Yeah,
the
it
COVID
does.
year being played
Yeah,
a year later, and then the World Cup and all that. Uh, but they should be a deep. Like I said, they are a very deep team. They have a lot of young talent on there. with Bellingham and all those guys. I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but you know what I mean. They should be a top team competing for the title, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect any less. It's going to be a pretty good Euros. I really think 2024 is going to be a really solid Euros next year.
Yeah. So obviously, the Frances, the Englands are going to qualify. Um, you know, the you would think the
Portugal,
Belgiums, the
Spain.
Portugals, even Serbia, they're in a pretty easy group. Um, Denmark's in an easy group. Uh, this qualification group I, Switzerland is a very easy group. A lot of easy groups, which is kind of funny that, team like France has to play Netherlands and Italy has to play England. But so it's going to be tough to predict this early.
Ooh, France
Um,
right now. There's a game going. France versus Netherlands, 3-0 France
yeah.
as we speak. I want to see. Come on, like Norway. Let's get Holland in these tournaments, man. Come on,
Yeah,
Norway.
and Odegaard too. A lot of people think it's just Holland, but I'm like, hey,
Oh yeah,
they
Odegaard.
have a
Yeah,
chance because they got Odegaard feeding Holland. So it's like they got a little bit. They got a little bit.
they should. I mean, in that group, you have Spain, Scotland, Norway, Georgia, Cyprus.
Yeah,
Obviously,
Spain would be a tough
Georgia.
one, but I think they should be fine. I mean, kidding me
Spain's going to
against
win the
Georgia.
group. Georgia, Cyprus, they're going to get knocked out. Norway, Scotland is going to be a tougher. That's where it's going to get
Yeah,
closer
yeah,
matches.
definitely.
Scotland, they qualified last Euros, so that's going to be a tougher one between Norway and Scotland. But I'm curious to see how that lines up. I don't really follow Norway at all, so I just want to see
Yeah,
Holland in these
I would like to
tournaments. I
see
think
them in the
it's
tournament too because of Odegaard. I know I don't give a shit about Holland because I'm an Arsenal fan, but
yeah.
I'd like to see them
I
in
think it'd
there.
just be cool to see. I mean, I always think it sucks when you see these amazing talents like not ever make these like international tournaments. It always kind of sucks to see.
It's like
But
Aubameyang with Gabon. It's like, oh, what are you going to play in the
yeah,
Africa Cup of Nations? Okay.
yeah, yeah. Or
Yeah.
like
So
even like not to the extent of like I was literally thinking of Aubameyang too when you said that. Like when I was thinking
yeah,
that, but also not
but
to a
yeah,
lesser
yeah,
extent. Obviously not as crazy, but um Sweden with like Zlatan. Like Sweden's never really been a powerhouse. Like
yeah. They make it some
they
years.
don't.
Sometimes they don't. Like he's
Yeah.
played in tournaments, but it's always been a very interesting one. But one more thing. There was kind of a breaking story that we should talk about before we leave for this week. It appears that the U.S. national team is trying to poach Folarin Balogun from Arsenal. Balogun is having quite a season for uh, fuck, what's the team called? Now I'm
It's
drawing
a
a blank.
French team. Yeah,
The French team,
it's the league
it's
one.
league. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank now for some reason, but he has 17 goals or something like that.
I
Um,
don't think it's that much. Hold up. I'll pull up the
let's
stats right
see.
now.
Let's say it's in 17 goals in 27 matches. Yep, he has 17 goals. He's behind
For
only
Rems.
for Rim, yeah. So he's behind only Mbappe and Jonathan David in the league Golden Boot race. He was born in New
And for
York
the
and
I was
mostly
gonna
represented England at youth levels. He did feature for the U.S. under 18 at the tournament in 2018, but since then he's been youth product for England. Uh, the last time he played, he was pulled out of the England camp with an injury. But he's also eligible, so he's eligible for England, U.S., and Nigeria, and he's in
yeah,
Florida
so
right now. They're trying to poach him over, and
yeah,
they've announced that they've been talking to him.
in 13 games he had 7 goals for the U21 team for England. Um yeah, so a lot of people are hyping him up. I am curious on your end, like do you think he'll eventually when his loan spell's over, you think he's going to get some play time at Arsenal or you think Arsenal's just going to sell him off?
Um,
I don't know like what your
I
guys
think they're
kind of
gonna. I
pattern
think
is.
they're
Like
gonna. I
do
think
you
they're gonna
tend to like
try.
keep your loanees?
Yeah, if they play
You
like
do.
that, yeah. Um,
Usually tend to keep. I'm not sure if you're like a City who or Chelsea
no,
that
no,
like
no.
always gets
We try not.
never.
We try not to be. I mean, it happens with some players, but um, no. Given the way he's playing now, he's going to get minutes. what he does with those minutes is going to determine whether or not he ends up getting sold.
Some FA Cup starts,
Or
some
just some bench appearances, yeah, EFL
yeah,
Cup, something like that. He'll definitely start playing. I mean, with 17, when you say who you're behind scoring in Ligue 1, Mbappe and Jonathan David, well, shit, like that's good. That's really good. You
shout
just,
out Canada.
yeah, but that's a really good. Those are two very good players and very clinical players, and we have, you know, someone on loan who's doing what you want on loan and thriving. So if he comes back to Arsenal, he plays well. Yes, we would um, probably keep him. But what do you think? So U.S. Soccer has announced that they are talking to him. Um,
They've announced it themselves.
yes,
One thing I do just got to mention, I always
one
think
of the
it's
coaches said so.
hilarious.
The interim coach said last week the federation has an open dialogue with him.
You know, the one thing I've always found hilarious with like US men's national team, and they've done it for a while, is like, man, they manage to find these people who have like the smallest little ties to America. Like they were born here, but then like from like a military parent and like
It can be interesting.
and left at like 2 months old and have never been back. But yet like look at Dest, Musa, there's been other guys throughout the years I can't think of the top of my head, but it's funny. I mean, I think this guy's one of them. He's obviously born in Brooklyn, but he was raised majority of his life in England. Obviously, he seems to that he kind of identifies himself more as English than American. But when it comes to international football, you're going to want to go where you're getting playing time. So, obviously, he feels from the little like coded messages that he's put on social media that he's England he feels disrespected by England by not calling him up to this upcoming camp.
I
He wants
agree.
to
I
be
mean,
a
come
part of
on
them.
now. I think this is I think that was the final straw, and I think he's going to sign for the U.S. team because of this. Um, and if you notice on his Twitter, he was at
And obviously
yesterday. He was
England is
at the
just
Orlando Magic game. He went
yeah,
to Yankee spring training today. I mean, this guy is doing the American tour right now, and it's very similar
yeah.
to what Yunus Musa went through. They were teammates at Arsenal. If you actually remember. Yunus Musa and Balogun spent time at the Arsenal academy, and Yunus Musa did a similar thing, spending time in the U.S. around the team before he made his official switch. So if I had to take a bet, I think he probably is going to make the switch.
Because he said
I
he
think,
wants to feel respected. He wants to feel
and he will
wanted.
be. He will be. He will
Oh
be. He will
yeah.
be played.
And a
I mean,
very
and God damn it, the U.S. need a striker. So that's a cool way to get one. He's
the
like, hey,
US
shit,
needs
we
a
don't even have to develop one.
striker.
Just saying.
Yeah, the US needs a striker big time, especially since they don't want to bring Jordan Peacock in for any reason, even though this man's
Yeah.
playing for Union Berlin and scoring regularly. But yeah, he's going to be an immediate starter piece. This is a guy who will eventually will probably get some minutes with Arsenal once his loan spell is over,
Yeah.
and could even potentially be a regular starter down the road if he continues to play when he comes back to the
Absolutely.
Prem, and if he plays at the level he's playing in Ligue 1. Like he might be another guy that you're because right now, I mean, really the only guy that you have playing for a team that's a perennial Champions League team year in and year out competing for titles is Pulisic at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He's
And
really
Pulisic has said that he wants Balogun to come. He's been
yeah,
outspoken.
and you had Dest at he's now at AC, but he was at Barca. I mean, outside of those two guys, I mean, if you want to throw Dortmund in there, but Reina really
Yeah.
hasn't got any looks when it comes to Dortmund in the Champions League. But you need another guy who's playing top football and is going to be a
Exactly.
part of a team that is doing that as well.
Yeah.
So
Overall,
I'm
I think
really,
it's good news for the United States. I hope they can
I think he's going
finalize
to do
that.
it.
And I think he would. I
Obviously,
think he is too.
England is first choice because people are just
Yes.
England historically is going to be a better team. Like if you're going to win titles and cups, like the Euros, like you want to be a part of the Euros and be competitive in World Cups, which the US just isn't at right now. But maybe he can be one of those that can change that. The US is on the rise when it comes to their national team, even though they have nothing to really quite show for it yet. But talent wise, they're there. I think it's gonna be big. I think he's gonna do it. I mean, obviously, he kind of burned his bridge in a sense by saying he's injured. I think that was kind of like the thing. He said that he's not gonna come to. There's something about injury.
Well, all I've
Um,
ever saw was that it was an undisclosed injury. Like even they never even figured out what it was. So
yeah,
that's
and then he
it's a
didn't
bit of a
get
red
called
flag.
up.
But
Yeah, he said he didn't get called up. He felt disrespected, and then he had like an injury. So now he's over here doing like this whole Florida tour right next to where in Orlando where the U.S. men's national team do their
yeah,
camps a lot.
exactly.
So I think it's pretty much the writings on the wall. It's just a matter of when they're going to announce it. Um, they're probably going to wait till the summer window, the next summer international window, to probably commit to
Yeah,
it. I
when they
mean,
can do the
US
next call
also
ups.
just got the right winger out of Club America, Alex Sendejas, who's been playing really well in Liga MX. So yeah, I think he's gonna go. I think he's gonna go with the American team, and I think it's gonna be a huge, huge, huge get. I think
Yeah,
this is what
definitely.
Team USA is really missing is a clinical finisher
Absolutely.
at
So
a
we'll see.
top level.
Yeah, so I agree. We'll see what happens. But that's going to be something to look forward to in the next coming weeks. All right. Is there
It's
anything else that we missed that you want to bring up, or is that pretty much
Final
it?
thoughts? No, I mean, I'm pretty much good. I mean, final thoughts. Don't bet on MLS because that shit is very unpredictable, but we're gonna do it anyways.
Final thoughts. Don't bet on MLS, but if you are an Inter Miami fan, come say hi. We'll be at the game this Saturday.
All right. So we're gonna end it off there. I want to thank everybody for listening to the podcast and to another episode of Real Fans FC. You guys know where to find the podcast. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we're available on all social media platforms. So feel free to follow us on all those and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and leave a review on one of the wonderful podcast platforms, or leave a comment in the YouTube video. Be greatly appreciated. We do see all the new subscribers coming in. We're closing in on some more. So let's keep it up, guys. But yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.